Hey there, how's it going? So this video is on the subject of the biggest misconception about God. So I came across a video this morning that came up as one of the related videos to one of my videos, and it was of an evangelical preacher, a woman named Joyce Meyer. And I'm always just kind of curious to hear what these guys have to say, even though it's all rather predictable and is so rooted in these what I like to call ancient visions of God, these just very narrow, simplistic, just very simplified conceptions of life and reality and who or what God is and how we're supposed to live our lives and all this stuff. It's just kind of, to me, it just kind of comes across as robotic, basically, of just, parroting the words of the Bible. And I should probably just make a little sort of note here or whatever of who the hell am I to, criticize somebody else's ideas about God. But I have my own ideas, and what I figure is that any God that is genuinely a loving God has a respect for honesty. And so I'm just going to, share my honest thoughts, because whatever your honest thoughts are is what they are. And if you think that if you just bury your thoughts deep enough, your thoughts, your emotions, your desires, etc., if you just hide them deep enough into your being somewhere, then God won't be able to see them. I don't think it works that way. I think it's all out in the open anyways. We're only fooling ourselves by trying to be this or trying to be that. So you might as well just be honest with yourself and acknowledge your own real feelings and thoughts and beliefs and everything. So that's what I'm doing with these videos. I'm just expressing my own personal, honest, subjective beliefs and opinions. And maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, who knows? But, I have developed my own personal viewpoint on things based on my own personal in-depth experiences, and I figure that's the best you can do. I'm not going to trust some book written a couple thousand years ago, and I will mention here something I mentioned in a previous video, a book that is all written by men, the Bible I'm referring to, not a single voice of a woman in there, and think that this is the complete and total truth, and nothing is left out and every word is in the perfect place or whatever. I'd rather take my chances on my own personal, genuine, sincere insights into reality than just make a bet on my soul that some book is correct and I better do what that book says or else I'm going to hell. So that's where I'm coming from. So here's a quote from this book, from this video. The title was Joyce Meyer, Close to God. And so Joyce says the following: "In your soul you have desires. You want, you think, you feel. I want, I think, I feel. We all have things we want, but then God's got some things that he wants. And if his wants don't agree with our wants, then guess whose wants have to go? Have you figured that out yet? Has anybody figured out that God's going to win in the end? Or if he never gets around to winning in your life, then you will be miserable." So the basic idea here is that God is the authority and you are subservient to that authority, and spiritual realization means finally acquiescing to that and doing what God wants you to do. So in other words, basically we don't have free will. I mean, I guess you have within this context, you have free will to not do what somebody else wants you to do, or else to do what somebody else wants you to do. And if you don't do what that other person wants you to do, then you're bad. So that's the free will that you have within that paradigm. And I think this is complete and utter rubbish. And that this is it's creating a framework of like the caste system of India or something, where you have the holier than thou's, the elites, the Brahmin, and then it goes on down from there. And so there's this separated tier of authority, of gods at the top, and then I guess the angels and blah blah blah, and then us lowly humans down here on Earth, struggling around and mostly screwing up. And if we're lucky enough, then finally we realize that we should have just done what God wanted us to do all along, and then we would have saved ourselves a bunch of misery. But I don't think this is the way that works. I think that we have autonomy over our lives, and that our own personal, subjective beliefs, thoughts, emotions, desires are all completely and utterly equal to those of the divine. This is not, however, saying that whoever or whatever God is, that God doesn't have a much more expanded perspective than we do. That that God doesn't know more than we do. I mean, I absolutely acknowledge that whatever this this God being is, that he, she, it is a lot smarter than me, and that we can tap into that divine intelligence and learn from it. But it is not a matter of having to deny our own subjective truth in the process. And so that's kind of the balancing act there, is that we are too often presented with two different paradigms of, there are those who are doing the right thing, following the rules, and who are willing to listen and learn from a higher authority. And then there are those who are rebelling against that and cut off from it and are going their separate ways with no conception of a higher power of some sort. And I would say that this is a false choice, that these are the only two options. That instead that you can be open to the concept of a God, a divine being. You can be open to receiving the divine energy, the intelligence, the information of the Creator. And you can also honor your own personal thoughts, feelings, emotions, and desires. And that there is nothing wrong with following your own personal desires. So there is, to put an analogy to this, then let's say that you're a parent, and I'm not a parent, I've never had kids, but let's say that I had kids, and I raised my kids, and then they went off to school, and then went off to live their own lives, and then I said to them, up on their leaving, now, if you really want to, be on my good side, then you'd better make sure that every day you send me a long letter telling me how much you worship me and how amazing and awesome I am, and how you're going to do whatever I tell you to do and be subservient to me. This is our conception of God. That we were created by this being, and now we have to eternally be bending over backwards, going out of our way to constantly be worshiping and making it absolutely utterly apparent, to the point of praying 5 times a day, or else, I'm talking about Islam here, in order to be in the graces of this God. And this to me is just quite ridiculous. And any genuinely loving parent or any genuinely loving God, in my mind, would say, go forth and enjoy yourself and be a good person and treat people kindly and all that. Here are a few useful words of wisdom to take you on your way. But send me a postcard every once in a while, call me and say hello, but enjoy your life. You're a separate being, and you're gonna do your own thing, and you have your own opinions and values and perspective, and so do with it as you will, and I wish you the best. Rather than this concept of that God is the authority, God is the almighty policeman and president who you must be subservient to. And so it is about, in my mind, finding that balance between individual will and the divine will, and not denying that there is a higher power out there, and that there is a creator of some kind that created everything, and being thankful for just having life and the gifts that we may or may not have, the abundance we may have come into, or the challenges that we may end up learning from throughout our life, that we can both honor and respect and be sensitive and attuned to the invisible force behind everything, and yet still allow ourselves the freedom to go about our lives and not feel like we have to constantly be watching ourselves, whether we're following the rules properly or not, whether we're sticking to the desires that God has over our own personal individual desires. I think that we can come into perfect alignment with our own will, our own intentions and perspective for life with the divine will. And so that's kind of the perhaps the tricky part or whatever, but I do believe that we can be fully immersed in our own being and simultaneously be connected to the divine flow, rather than seeing ourselves as some sort of almost powerless, just little kid or whatever, waiting for the parent to tell us what to do or something like that. So, all right, take care, namaste.